Hi Riz, will you ever get back into playing horror games? I love watching you either way, so hang in there and keep doing your best. Thank you, I appreciate that. Will you ever get back into playing horror games? Like, sure. Horror games are not my favorite to play, but they are among my favorite to watch. So, like I dread going in to play a horror game for myself, you know, because I am a scaredy cat. I really am. Like, I don't fake it. I also don't scream like other YouTubers do, you know? I just, you know, whatever. So I don't know how people would think I'm faking, considering I have no over-the-top reactions, you know? But I'm genuinely a very frightenable person. So, yeah. But I thoroughly enjoy, like, watching myself play horror games, or, you know, watching other people play horror games. So I'm definitely open to it. I would be interested to know what horror games y'all would like me to play. So, you know, if you have any suggestions, as with everything else, let me know in the comments, because that'd be good to know. What's probably your favorite series or project you've done on this channel? Be that reaction, let's play, that one Doki Doki Literature Club April Fool's video, or any other thing you are fond of. You know, you nailed it on the head. You nailed it on the head. You hit the nail on the head. There you go. It's Doki Doki Literature Club. You know, that was my favorite Let's Play. But in particular, yes, my favorite project that I've ever done on this channel has been Doki Doki Literature Club April Fool's video. I worked really, really hard on that. I was, you know, quite proud of the outcome. Like, it wasn't perfect. I admit that straight up. But, you know, from, like, the planning of it to the execution of it, I was really fond of. Like, I wish that I'd been able to do a little bit more with the execution. Because what I had initially wanted to do was, like, you know, I had the series, and then I wanted to upload bit by bit, you know, my the April Fool's part, the part that I made, with the last one being uploaded on April Fool's Day. But I think instead I just had, like, one long video uploaded on April Fool's Day. But either way, I think it worked out pretty well. You know, a number of people were like, you know, even if they caught on that it wasn't the actual game, because, you know, yeah, it wasn't, obviously. People thought that, like, oh, he's playing a mod. But not a lot of people jumped to the conclusion of, like, oh, this is something that Riz made on his own entirely. And it was something I made on my own. I was really proud of that. If you're curious, you should definitely watch it. And I would highly encourage you to watch, too, I made a video where I basically went over my April Fool's project. And, like, you know, so it's a behind the scenes, basically, like, how I did it, the struggles that I had along the way, like, the accomplishments. Yeah, it was a really good time, frankly. So, yeah. I have 2 questions, but you don't have to answer both of them if you want. 1, what is your favorite insult to receive? I don't really know that I like receiving insults. Yeah, I don't know what insults I like to receive. I don't really like to receive insults, because even if the insult doesn't really mean anything to me, I don't like the intent that person came at me with, you know? Like, I don't want people to try to insult me. That's... 2, what is your favorite question to be asked? That's also a hard question. What's your favorite question to be asked? Well, let me think on that a little bit. Probably, is there anything I can do for you? I think that's probably my favorite question to be asked. It has to be done so, of course, with an air of sincerity. You know, if people are just saying that to say it, then it means nothing. But if people are asking, is there anything I can do for you? And they actually mean it. And, you know, if you were to respond, they would actually intend to try to do what they could to help you in whatever situation, you know, whether it was, like, financial difficulties or just mental health struggles, or, I don't know, you've stuck on a math problem or whatever. I think that's a really sweet question to be asked. And, you know, it can say a lot about people. But only if they mean it. You know, like, you have to be close enough in that kind of relationship, but it's a nice one. Even if you don't pick my comment, I will still eagerly watch and enjoy the video when it is uploaded. I mean, you know, it's a very long video, I'm sure, so don't feel pressured to, even though you've gotten this far, but hey, I hope you enjoy it if you do. I hope you have an absolutely amazing 365 days. Thank you, I hope you have a nice day. Hello Riz, I've been watching your channel for around a year, and it's nice to see that you're reacting to death battles again, like you did years ago, and I have a couple questions. 1, what is your favorite and least favorite death battle? So again, with favorites right now, I would go between Iron Fist versus Poe, and Reverse Flash versus Goku Black. Least favorite death battle, I would say, is the 7 Battle Royale. Oh, and I will give a shout out to Red versus Blue. I was very pleasantly surprised by that. It was a very entertaining episode. And yes, I am scrolling through things right now. You know, I'm gonna go with 7 Battle Royale. Yeah, least favorite. Okay. What is the scariest game that you have played on this channel? Oh gosh, that's another good question. I feel like the only one that I actually like quit because I was so scared was, oh gosh, what was it called? It was like this pixelated game. Had a short title. And I think I came back to play it again. Like, I think I finished it, but like I started recording and I quit because I was just so scared. And I don't think it wasn't deserving of that much fear. I was just like really, I guess, you know, prone to it that day or whatever. Let me see my horror games playlist. Let me scroll through that real quick. I'm Scared, a Pixelated Nightmare. That's the one I was thinking about. That's the one that I quit out and then I had to come back to it later. Aside from that, scariest for me, it might have been, I mean, I guess another one that I quit out of actually was Five Nights at Freddy's 4. Because like I beat 1, 2, and 3, and then I quit on 4. A big part of that was, like I don't love jump scares, you know? I mean, there are a lot of things I don't love. But jump scares, like being startled is like not fun for me, which partly goes back, I think, to childhood trauma of just like jumping at like, you know, when the fire alarm would go off at school or whatever. Or, you know, at a sleepover, someone thinks it's funny, like to jump around the corner and scare you, right? But you know, I hated when people would laugh at me when I jumped. And so I think it was ingrained in me that like, I just want to avoid those situations as much as possible, etc. But Five Nights at Freddy's 4, like it has a very big focus on sound. Like you have to blast your volume to hear like the breathing and such to know when it's like safe to mess with the doors or whatnot. And I just, you know, I was also burnt out with Five Nights at Freddy's because, you know, I'd gone, I think pretty much straight from like Five Nights at Freddy's 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Just because Scott kept putting out games, you know, and people kept wanting to see them. But yeah, that's one of the scariest. Outlast was really scary to play. Amnesia was really scary to play. Yeah, and you know, they both had their moments, of course, where like I would kind of get used to it, get desensitized, and then there would be moments where it's like, I'm afraid again, that kind of thing. And fun fact, by the way, remember how I used to play like a scary game, like every Friday, I think was the idea. A lot of it was like creepypasta games, random ones, you know, like, I mean, you could see a lot. I have a horror/creepypasta games playlist. Has 91 videos, but that also includes, because it was just horror games, it includes like the Five Nights at Freddy's games, which is partly why it came up. But that's why I think it was like Five Nights at Freddy's and Creepypasta Land. I think those are the two games that made me basically stop doing like a scary game every Friday, because you know I was doing like a standalone video every Friday, and then I started playing those, and you know those are longer games. Like it took an entire series, and so it stopped being like, oh, a new game every Friday. It was like, oh, it's this game again, and then this game, and then this game. And then, like, finally I was done with those games, and I just, this is how I recall it, at least, and I never went back to just playing, like, the individual things. So, hey, there's an extra bit of information that the question did not ask. Once you catch up to the remaining episodes of Death Battle, would you react to other shows similar to it, and people talking about their most wanted death battles? And if you want, I can leave some suggestions for some really good shows that you would like. I have no plans to do that. Like, you're welcome to leave your suggestions, but I don't plan to do that. I mean, like, I personally don't see the joy of, like, listening to people talk about death battles that they want to see. It's not really something that sounds interesting to me. Because, like, my death battle thing, again, is mostly about learning more about the characters. And so it's like, I trust death battles research for the most part. I'm aware that they're not always correct, because everyone makes mistakes, even people with a big research team like them, who have a lot of people watching, who are inevitably going to question their decisions, you know, the outcomes they decide on, right? But like, I don't expect like small time shows that have, you know, basically tried to use the death battle format to really do it the same kind of justice. And so, you know, since that's the biggest appeal for me, and you know, if the biggest appeal for me were watching two characters fight to the death, like, yeah, that might be different. Because then it would just become a matter of like, how good is the animation? But that's not the biggest appeal of death battle for me. And so, especially when, you know, quality could definitely be lacking in certain areas, I just don't have that interest right now to branch out in that way. What is your current most wanted death battle? don't really have one. If you could change the winner of any death battle, which would you pick? Again, like I'm not sure, because I would really only want to change the winner of a death battle if they would actually be the winner, you know? And so I remember, you know, there were some that I had questioned, like I had questioned Link versus Cloud, and then the remake kind of did that for me. I remember questioning like Peach versus Zelda. More recently, like Steven Universe versus Star. But you know, I just have to assume in those cases I was wrong with my reasonings or my predictions or whatever, right? And that they were correct. And so if that's the case, like I wouldn't want a character to win just because I wanted them to win. You know, I would want a character to win because they would the majority of the time win. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about the characters to say that like death battle's just flat out wrong in any particular instance. So yeah, I definitely question some things about some episodes, but I don't have enough information to really say I would change something. Hey Riz, got another question. If you got to go back in time, would you still choose to do YouTube/reactions? That's an interesting question. Sit down, here we go. So, okay, so I think about going back in time all the time because I don't really love myself as a person. I don't love the situation that I'm in life. I don't imagine that I'm going to be like really happy in my life as I continue to grow up. Like the older I get, the more regrets I have, the more I wish I could go back and just like do everything differently. If I could, I would go back and like restart life from elementary school, you know? Like I'd bloody do it. Please let me. So like if I could go back in time, I would do a lot of things differently. If most of my life were going to be the same, like let's say that I went back in time and, you know, I wasn't able to abuse my knowledge of like investing in, you know, Pokemon Go or investing in Bitcoin or things like that, right? Like investments would be the top priority when going back in time because I would love to be able to have enough money that one, I didn't have to worry about staying alive. Two, I would be able to, I mean, I say two as though I have a three. It's really just one and two. And two, I want to be able to like help other people out financially. I want to be able to give gifts without worrying about, you know, my own money or whatever, you know, because I want to make people happy and I want people to also not have to worry about dying. So I want to be rich, but for those reasons. I don't give a crap about a yacht or whatever. Like, who cares? But I just want those basic things. So would I still choose to do YouTube or reactions? Part of me says yes. Because another thing that I've thought a lot about is I would love to have been able to do, like, to start Let's Playing earlier, you know? Because I think that if I could have started Let's Playing earlier, or any number of different kinds of formats of videos earlier, before they became huge, I think I could have been successful. Because frankly, I don't think that I am, like, terribly less entertaining than, say, Markiplier, you know? I think a lot of it is just, he got into it early enough, he built up a base, he collaborated with enough people that like his name was known in, you know, bigger parts. And then now he's just a staple. Like you can't get rid of him, you know? Meanwhile, like I was fairly big, like nowhere near him big, you know? But I was fairly big at the beginning of my YouTube career with the death battle reactions. And I think that's specifically because I was among the first to do death battle reactions, or the very least in the manner that I did them. And so it was unique. Like if someone wanted to watch, like if someone wanted that experience, I was one of the very few people who could provide it, you know? At this point, everyone is doing death battle reactions or a bunch of other reactions, you know? And so now it's really just like a handful of, it's you people watching right now. You know, you're the people who keep coming back to my death battle reactions. But like those, you know, those reactions of mine used to get like hundreds of thousands of views. Like I could watch within the first hour of it being public and I would get 1,000 views on the video. But now my death battle reactions are like capping between like 3,000 and 4,000 views, which is still nice. Don't get me wrong. But like it's capping there and then it's stopping. And then that's it that they get, you know? It's just the handful of people that are like watching me specifically for those reactions. And then like there's not really new viewership. YouTube is not promoting my content. Or if it is, just no one cares, you know? And so I feel like that's a pretty strong like indication that it's like, yeah, it was because I was offering a unique experience at the time, and now it's not unique anymore. Now people can go, you know, wherever they want, basically. to get the same kind of thing, you know, just watching people react to a show that they like. So, would I still choose to do it? I don't know for sure. It would depend on a number of things, because like I do enjoy making content. I do enjoy, you know, connecting with my viewers. I like to make those memories. You know, I love the comments when people are like, "Hey, I grew up with your stuff. You know, I watched you here. Like, you really helped me out." Da 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 da. Like, that's the biggest reason why, you know, I still do this stuff, is just because, you know, I just love that aspect of it. And so I think that if I went back, you know, I would still want that in some way. So I think it comes down to like, would YouTube be the way that I would choose to do it, or would I try to pursue another way to do that? But I don't know what that other way would be. So yeah. So short answer is, if I could go back in time, would I still do YouTube/reactions? Yes. But you know, it's yes with an asterisk, being all of that other stuff I talked about. I was quite worried for a second thinking you contracted COVID with the mask. Sorry. Be more confident in your facial hair, bro. I think that's cool. Again, I think it goes back to, in part, I just don't like the look of it, but also in part, just my association with it personally, of like the lack of motivation, the depression, that kind of thing. As for questions, you have one. Which game do you often return to playing again after completing it numerous times in your life, because you just have some satisfaction from playing it? For you, it's Spyro the Dragon 2 and 3. Nice. So I am going to step away from speedrunning for this, because obviously you return to playing a speedrun game again and again. Which, by the way, my biggest one is Dragon Ball Z Universe 2, as I talked about earlier. The biggest game that I return to just to play it again for my own satisfaction would be Pokemon. Specifically Ruby, or I'll just say 3rd generation and 1st generation. And with 3rd generation, I'm also leaving like Fire Red and Leaf Green as like possibilities. Those are my 2 favorite Pokemon generations. I think that they are great games. I love going back to them. I do it just a lot, you know, whether it's just to have another playthrough, or whether it's to do like a little bit of a challenge run, like a Nuzlocke for myself, or like, you know, a Magikarp only kind of thing, right? I just enjoy going back to those games. Lot of replayability. Like the replay value is just huge for those, I think. And then the other one I would say is Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Especially, like, not really vanilla, but like I go back to it a lot to play the randomizer. Like at this point, I have all the Skulltula locations memorized. I know the items that you need for the dungeons. You know, I know where to go for all of them. So like I've played Ocarina of Time a lot. I don't know how I would fare playing it vanilla, honestly, just because I know everything in a randomized context. But yeah, I have a lot of fun with that. Other games that I go back to, not as frequently, but, you know, just like kind of honorary mentions again, you know, like Fire Emblem. You know, I love the Game Boy Advance games like Fire Emblem. I think Rekinoken is the Japanese name. And then Sacred Stones. Dead by Daylight is another game that I often find myself coming back to. You know, I'll have long pauses and I'll return to it. RuneScape is another game I'll end up coming back to after long pauses. Paper Mario, another amazing game. Things like that. Question: what's your favorite and least favorite death battle episode? Poe versus Iron Fist, or Goku Black versus Reverse Flash, and 7 Battle Royale. Also, would you react to other versus channels like Smash Bracket and so on in the future? I don't particularly have that interest. Like, I'm not going to say it's not possible ever, but like, I'm not personally looking for another thing to react to. It's hard enough to get myself to react to Death Battle each week. And like, if I were uploading like Smash Bracket one week, Death Battle the next week, Smash Bracket, like, I think people would riot and be like, go back to Death Battle. That's the only thing we like you for. Which is an exaggeration. I know a lot. If you're watching this, that's obviously not the case. But, you know, for some people it is. Come on, don't joke around. Hi, Riz. I just have 3 simple questions of how old are you? 28, unfortunately. What languages do you speak? English, Igpe Atenle, Abababi Dabababi, a band Ibai Daibai Daibai. Oh gosh, Ibi Daibi. Ibaim Stybil, why bark I being Ibon Daibat. What's your favorite? Oh, with languages, yeah. So those are, English is the only language I speak fluently. In college, I took a lot of languages. A lot. It depends on who you are, right? So like junior high and high school, I took some Spanish. And then college, that was like the language that I took to satisfy like my Associate of Arts and Bachelor of Arts requirements, because, you know, they have a language requirement. But in college, I also took, just as for fun classes for myself, I took 1 semester of German, 2 semesters of French, I believe, and 2 semesters of Japanese. So I can say random little phrases like, Ich bin eine Ente, und ich esse die Kartoffeln, you know? Je ne suis pas un homme incroyable. Je ne suis pas un poisson, you know? I guess you wouldn't say un poisson. You would just say poisson. You only say un if you have an adjective with it. Look, I remember some things. Or like, watashi wa America jin no hon desu. I'm an American book, you know? Something like that. Like, I could say like random little dumb stuff, but I definitely couldn't hold a conversation or anything like that. The best I do is sometimes in my dreams, I'll have like a little conversation in Spanish or whatever, you know? Yeah, so I love languages. I think they're fascinating. I wish that I could learn them, like, you know, more languages and learn better. But I always end up like stuck, you know, like I'm on a roll for a while and then I'll get stuck once things get like above kindergarten level, right? And I just have no means to like practice languages, and so I just forget everything that I've ever learned. So yeah, what's my favorite food? Pizza. I'm basic. Specifically just meat pizzas, you know, so like pepperoni, I'm down. Sausage, I'm down. Bacon, yes. If you want to go a little bit more fancy, like, yeah, you can do like barbecue and ranch or whatever, you know, like but I don't want to go into like vegetables. I don't like vegetable pizzas. You know, don't give me onions, don't give me olives. You know, spinach, I guess, fine if you need it, but like, you know, I prefer just the meat stuffs in general. Though don't get me wrong, a cheese pizza is also delicious. This is the most relevant question ever. Why are you so awesome? Thank you for saying so. It's because of your perception of me. That's what allows me to be awesome. If you can create your own death battle, who would be in it and why? Which goes back to just like, what death battle would you request? What matchup would you like to see? Don't really have one. I'd just like to see some characters that I know in death battle. And so right now, I would be most interested in seeing My Hero Academia characters. Those would be, you know, the ones that I am the most attached to, that also have like the least death battle experience right now. You know, a couple other characters available in Dragon Ball Z. Like, I'd be down to see something like, you know, Kurumi Ebisuzawa from Gakkou Gurashi, because that's like arguably my favorite anime. And she was my favorite character. I love Kurumi. But I don't know who she'd go up against. Probably someone from like High School of the Dead, right? But I don't know. I just like Kurumi. Do you wish for the pandemic to finally come to an end? Like, absolutely, I wish for that. I don't know who would say no. Like, I definitely want things from the pandemic, like certain things that changed, you know, during the pandemic. I want those to last. Like, I would love for people to wear masks more often in public. I still intend to, because one, it helps me from like, people don't expect you to talk as much if you're wearing a mask. I don't have to like smile at people as I walk by. And you might think that seems pretty rude, but no, just I have social anxiety and I hate being put in those situations. But you know, a mask obviously also helps protect you and other people from sicknesses. So I think that would be great. I would love for more people to continue to wear masks even if after the pandemic is over, because even after the pandemic is over, you still have like the cold, you still have the flu, you still have a bunch of other stuff that could go around that masks would help with. So I would love that. I would love to see more jobs open up, like permanently remote positions, because a lot of work can be done from home. And it's ridiculous that people expect you to take hours out of your day to travel to a place just so you can be more closely micromanaged, even though that's not necessary. Like, even though you could do it from the comfort of your own home. You know, it would provide more people with time to just enjoy their lives, to enjoy the comforts of their home. You know, their pets, their family, whatever, still get the job done that they're supposed to do. Like, like companies are just so stupid with how they resist that change. So I would love for that to be, you know, a thing still. So I just want more of these positive social reforms, you know, some of which that came out during the pandemic, like to stick around and to be improved upon even further, to be expanded even further. But absolutely, I want the pandemic to be over. Like, it's been terrible. Have you ever heard and watched BattleBots? No. You ever heard and played Beyblade? I have definitely heard of Beyblade. I've played, like, physically Beyblade, you know, like, my friend had, you know, like, the little plastic arena. They might have been, like, knockoff Beyblades, honestly, I don't know. And then, yeah, the Let It Rip thing, which was really hard sometimes to actually, like, make it shoot off appropriately. And I don't think we played, like, the way that you're supposed to necessarily. We just liked watching them spin around, you know, and, you know, we launched two at once. We sometimes watch them bounce off each other. But like, I've never played a Beyblade game. I've never seen the Beyblade anime or anything like that. What's your number one favorite food of all time? Pizza, because I'm basic. Can you do a Q&A live stream someday? Probably. But like, my issue with live streaming right now is that I don't have good enough internet. Like, the upload speed is just not good enough to do a live stream, or at the very least, not a live stream of like things I would want to do, like speed runs or just other gameplays, right? For a Q&A, I guess it might be enough because you don't need like a bunch of fluidity for a Q&A. But yeah. And unfortunately, like, we have the best internet available in our area, and it's just the upload speed it's not abysmal, but it's like half of what I saw as a recommendation for live streaming when I was Googling around. All right, get a mask with a nose piece that cuts down on the fog. Yeah, it has like one of those metal bits that you kind of can pinch around your nose, and sometimes it works better than others. For that video in particular, you know, because I expected it to be a quick thing, like, I didn't super, you know, like, press it down into place. But yeah, no, they can be incredibly helpful for sure. What's a game you've always wanted to play, either on stream or off, but haven't gotten to it yet? I don't actually really know. I've picked up a bajillion games. Not an exaggeration. Just kidding. Of course it is. And like, you know, with the interest of like, oh, maybe I'll play this sometime, you know? And of course, like, I haven't with like almost any of them. But I don't know if I have any that like particularly strikes me as like, oh, I want to play this so badly, you know, for my channel. So hard to say. I guess I'm modifying the question a little bit just so I have an answer. So like, I'll say a game that I planned to play on stream, or just in general, but I never did, was I was going to play Passepartout. I think that's how you pronounce it. But it's a little game about like you're an artist, and I don't know, you paint pictures, you know, like with your mouse, like you actually like paint or whatever. And yeah, I never got around to doing that. I think because I was like holding off so that I could live stream it, and then, you know, I ended up in situations where just like I wasn't live streaming or I couldn't live stream for whatever reason. But I guess that's the closest answer I can give right now. Yeah. Did any of your relatives come down with COVID? If so, how did you feel about that? Yes. My mom and my ex-stepdad both came down with COVID. My mom almost died from it. It was really bad. She was actually the first in our area to have gotten it. And yeah, like she was interviewed on the news, like, or for the news, you know, like they came to the door, spoke to her through the screen door kind of thing. It was a scary time, absolutely. Especially because at the time, like, we were in different states because I had gone back to continue my degree. And so, you know, I didn't know what was happening. And like, you know, again, mom and ex-stepdad, they were living in the same house as my two younger siblings. And so I was really worried about them potentially catching COVID as well and how they would, you know, fare with it. Thankfully they didn't, or if they did, like, there were no symptoms, right? Don't know. But yeah, no, it was an incredibly scary time. And thankfully, you know, she's okay, so we're good. Got another question. You've mentioned hearing some music from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Have you since watched any of it or wanted to? It's your favorite anime. I'm glad it's your favorite. I have not watched any of it. Like, and I've kind of wanted to watch some of it, but really only because it's so popular that I want to know if I would also like it. Like, based upon what I've seen, I'm really not sure because, like, I don't love the art style. And a lot of the jokes that I've seen from it didn't seem to be quite my cup of tea. But that's not to say that, like, within proper context it wouldn't be, or that, you know, there aren't other parts of the anime that I would really love. So, like, I want to like it, but just out of, or I want to watch it, but just out of curiosity kind of thing. But I don't have a big enough drive to actually do so. Like, I would definitely want to finish, like, My Hero Academia and Dragon Ball Z and Super, and oh, look, I also bought this, like, just yesterday from eBay. I'm still only in the Cell Saga in Z, but I was like, you know, I'm going to be prepared, so I have GT now. So that's cool. What is your favorite game? Probably Pokemon again, for when I talked about just, like, I love the early Pokemon games, like Generations 1 and 3 in particular. And, you know, Leaf Green, Fire Red, like, they were basically a mix of Generations 1 and 3. It was, like, the mechanics of 3, but the story Pokemon, like, the game, basically, of 1. So, you know, those are great. Fire Emblem is great. Paper Mario is great. Ocarina of Time in particular is great. I also love Majora's Mask, but I haven't played it in a long time, so, you know. Your favorite manga anime? My favorite anime is Gakkou Gurashi, I will say. I also really enjoy My Hero Academia, and, I've been watching more and more of Dragon Ball / Dragon Ball Z over time. I actually haven't watched it now in several months, since at least before, like, 2022. Like, I haven't watched any Dragon Ball Z in 2022. But, you know, I have definitely come to like it more. The first half of Death Note was awesome. But yeah, my favorite, Gakkou Gurashi. Your favorite character in fiction? There are a lot of really good characters. I'm not going to say this is over all of fiction. I'm gonna tie it back to number 2. I'm cheating is what I'm doing. My favorite character in my favorite anime? It's Kurumi Ebisuzawa, of course. Hey Riz, been watching you since the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Let's Plays. I've been wondering of any plan for the future of this channel regarding of game to play, speedruns, new content ideas, etc. I, unfortunately, Diverted Gamer, cannot provide a plan. My brain really struggles with thinking about the future. Because I'm already upset with my present and how I've handled my past. The future is just incredibly daunting and seems very hopeless to me. Sorry to be a downer. I don't mean to just be like, depression, take it. But yeah, just trying to answer questions as honestly as I can. So like, for my channel, it's always been a thing where I don't want to just stop doing things. Obviously, there have been, a number of different times where I've taken extended breaks, which a lot of people didn't like and a lot more people didn't care about. But like right now, I'm not playing any games. I'm just reacting once a week to Death Battle. And that's currently my plan for the rest of 2022, is I just want to keep at least being consistent in that regard. I want to keep uploading one reaction to Death Battle every week, for the rest of the year. And then beyond the year, I don't know, honestly, like what that's going to look like, because again, it's been really hard just to keep doing this for myself. But I've been able to do it because of that promise I made and whatnot, and not wanting to disappoint people. I do still want to like do gameplay, but it can be really difficult to actually get myself to do it, in part because of, again, like the whole setup I have to do, constantly performing. And when I say performing, I don't mean like I'm lying to anybody, I just mean in the sense of it's like, I'm like sitting upright, I'm trying to look presentable, I'm trying to like deliver with enough energy. It's its own thing. It's partly just constantly being watched. Like to go back to stuff about the pandemic, one of the things that like I both liked and disliked was being able to take online classes. Like that was already a thing, but it became a bigger thing, because like campuses themselves were like entirely shut down in a lot of areas, or for a long time. But the issue was that a lot of professors required you to have your webcam on throughout the entire class. And so it could be like 3 hours of me with my webcam on, and I hated it, because I hated that feeling of like, I'm supposed to be paying attention to the lecture, taking notes, trying to learn during this college course that I'm paying for, but instead, I'm just constantly aware of the fact that I have a webcam on me, and that, like, I'm watching myself, or I feel like other people might be watching me, or whatever. It's just it was a constant anxiety thing, and it sucked. There were only, like, a number of classes where I was actually able to have my webcam off, and those were so much better, Like, they were just better all around. So, a lot more comfortable. Right, I was like, where was that tying into this? Just as far as plans, I don't know, like maybe I'll try some gameplay without my webcam, which would be a bummer considering like I know that like I've been trying to do more with editing with my webcam in particular, like zoom ins and stuff, just to change things up a little bit, add a little bit more humor, things that I like to see when I watch videos. And this webcam was like $200. And, I have my lights and everything, but I know that would reduce some of the anxiety for me for sure. And, might well encourage me to, be able to record more often. So I might just try that just to see how it works, how people like it, that kind of thing. Speedruns, I want to try Xenoverse 3 when it comes out. I'll have to play it, like, blind, of course, first. So that could be cool. That could be a cool Let's Play, maybe. Just because, like, I've enjoyed Xenoverse 2, and Xenoverse 1, but to a lesser extent for sure. And so maybe a blind play of Xenoverse 3, though then again, it's basically just a recycled Dragon Ball Z, timeline. Like, they throw in a few different fights, but anyway, I'm rambling at this point. New content ideas. That's what I'm struggling with. I don't know. Like, I would love to be able to, again, provide, like, a unique experience to people. Like how we talked about before, where when I first started reacting to Death Battle, I think that was unique. And that was why, I was as popular as I was at the time, because if people wanted that experience, I was one of the few places you could get it. I don't know what I could do like that anymore. Like, YouTube itself is just so inundated with content. I don't know what I could really bring to the table that other people, like, don't or haven't or whatever. So, great question, but yeah, I don't really think I have a very satisfactory answer.